Hey, welcome to Five Guys, Movies and Fries. We only got 4 guys tonight, but we'll make it work. This episode, we're talking about The Cabin in the Woods. This is Molander introing the episode, just because I'm the guy who picked this movie for us. We have with us tonight, Knack.
Hey, yo.
And Jeff. And
Blank.
Jeff.
Blank.
I said yeah.
Oh, and Joe.
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going? So just a quick intro of this movie. This is a 2011 sci-fi horror comedy film directed by Drew Goddard, produced by Joss Whedon, written by the two of them, who also worked together on Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel. It's been said, or Whedon has come out and said that it's a critique of what they love and what they don't about horror movies. And it's kind of bringing the slasher genre back into fun after sort of the early 2000s slashers. He said they swung a little too far in the torture porn direction. I assume he was talking about, like, you know, your Saws and your Hostels and that kind of stuff. And he wanted to make a more horror movie that was more fun again, more like back to the 80s, 90s style. So here we got Cabin in the Woods. Let's just give our initial thoughts. Let's start with Jeff.
I love this movie a lot. I think it's really fun. I think it's funny. I definitely don't think it's spoopy at all by any means. But it's like, as a horror fan, this is definitely fan service for me. Just seeing all the different horror creatures and just like all the tropes just like played with on purpose. One big standout for me in this movie is, God, I'm the worst with names, but the two guys who are effectively in charge of everything.
Kurt and Holden.
Thank you, Kurt and Holden. I definitely, to me, those are the main characters of the movie. We start the movie with them. We damn near end the movie with them.
The guys downstairs?
Yeah.
That's Sitterson and Hadley.
No, never mind.
That's it.
What am I saying?
At first you feel like they're just like, I don't know, very flat, and like they're just supposed to be
schlubs. Right.
Yeah, but like there's a couple points in the movie where we get some humanizing moments with them, where like they genuinely look like they kind of give a shit that these kids are dying. Like, it's small, but it's definitely there, and I like that. But I if they would have leaned too hard into that, I feel like it would have taken away from like the fun of the movie and made it feel a little bit more raw, I guess, like a little bit more. So I'm glad that they just kind of barely touch on it, but it does humanize them a little bit. But God, are they funny?
They're great. They're great. I love when Bradley Whitford as Hagley is given that whole like monologue when the ritual is thought to be over, they're thought to be done. He's given this whole monologue about how they have to torture these kids and da da da, and he's like, tequila, because he's the people coming in.
That scene is on my TV right now. I was just playing before I came into the Discord. He's just like, I can't believe I'm rooting for this girl. Just like, you've got so much heart, just like the purity and tequila is my life. That's what this movie does great, is just sidelines. Anything that it sets up for just delivers the biggest laughs. It does a great job of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll let you.
Very good at that. It's very good at sort of subverting itself.
Yeah, and there's certain things that I genuinely like in regards to this. Sorry, I'm like really sick, so my brain isn't working well. There's things about the subversion that I really like. I like that the leads, like the kids who are going to the cabin, aren't the stereotypes that you expect them to be and have to be turned into the stereotypes in order to like complete the ritual.
Right.
I really like that a lot. Like, obviously, there's no group that's just the stoner, the dumb jock. You know what I mean? Like, even the virgin isn't really a virgin. What does Sigourney Weaver say? We work with what we got.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember that line,
Yeah, I think the only one who like actually fits the stereotype is the stoner.
Yeah.
But it's funny
but
because
no, he
and even
has
he,
wits. He's wit. I mean, he's the smart one. So
right.
I don't know.
yeah, he's the one that it seemed that they were the most worried about because they mentioned several times like, how the fuck is he still standing? Because like they just wanted him to be too fucked up. Yeah, his character was great. I mean, all the characters are great. I don't know. That scene when she's like making out with that wolf is probably the only scene that's a little toe curly for me.
Yeah,
the whole thing because it's disgusting. It's like I didn't catch it the first
like
time.
at least dust it off first, right?
Did you just say you loved that scene?
I do.
You're talking the makeout scene with the wolf?
Yeah,
it's great.
Oh, that's so gross.
But it is gross.
The wolf tongue is like flopping around in its mouth and shit. I didn't pick up on that the first time I watched the movie, but like it's just like loose in there and shit.
Yeah, the models and the props throughout that cabin are really well done.
I love that he tells her to go make out with that moose over there.
Oh
my god,
I thought that was too on the nose for stoner humor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love it. I thought it was perfect.
Let's see. Let's actually look through my notes. I think the opening is damn near perfect. I think it's a great opening to the movie. I think it really definitely sets the tone and the theme of the movie really well. Once again, I love that it opens with our two office workers like talking about cabinets and shit. I think that's just absolutely fucking perfect. I like that we get a lot of both sides and that it wasn't just a horror movie and then we find out at the end that there was other shit going along. Like I like that we bounce between them constantly. Right. I didn't look into whether or not it actually is or if it's modeled after, but goddamn, that cabin looks like the Evil Dead cabin.
It does. I assume it's at least.
There's an influence, but
yeah, there's an influence. Yeah, it's a good word for it.
I'm sure Evil Dead is one of the routes they could have taken in the basement.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, if you look at almost any dingy, as long as it's well put together, it's a dingy single layer fucking wooden cabin.
Right? Yeah, I mean that's such a basic ass cabin in Evil Dead that it's hard not to copy.
Yeah. Clear similarity,
unless you have like a mansion instead.
Chill, the idea of them just filling the basement full of all of these different horror movie triggers. Instead of like just lining up a couple, they're just like, I don't know, fuck it, throw all of them in. Like, so much shit, like the conch and fucking the puzzle box and shit.
Yeah,
the basement looks fucking packed. Like the three of them or the four that could barely stand in there. Like, it was fucking super cramped. No, one thing I didn't get. Actually, you know what? I just put it together, so never mind. We're gonna skip that.
No, well, what is it? I mean, you can't just bring that up and.
I didn't get it first. Why there was that force field along the road that they're driving on, but it occurred to me it's so they couldn't skip across the fucking canyon once they bring down the tunnel. Or whatever.
I was gonna mention that the Kurt death scene would have been more impactful had they not revealed that barrier at the beginning.
Yes,
probably.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's enough length, there's enough other wacky shit going on that, like, on your first viewing, it's easy to forget. And then suddenly remember, like, as he's taking off, like, wait, what about...
Yeah.
That was my experience with it the first time I watched it.
Dude, all the kids in this movie look old as fuck. Like, more old than normal. They all look like Chris Hemsworth looks like he's like fucking 45 in this movie.
He like 30? I mean,
it had to have been at least.
This was the same year he started as Thor, I think.
Yeah.
Really?
The Avengers came out the year after. This was 2011. Right. Avengers was 2012.
Okay, so maybe he had already been Thor.
No. You could tell the difference. I suppose if he's beefed up, because. Yeah, it could have been, depending on when they were each filmed, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, this movie felt like it was made by people who like horror movies in the genre. You know what I mean? There's a lot of touchstones, like the fact that they talk about how you don't get to see the monster at the end, and then we don't get to see the monster at the end. We just like see its hand and shit, and like bringing Sigourney Weaver in at the end. Like it should feel ham-handed, but at the same time, it's like of course it's fucking Sigourney Weaver. Like
of course,
the voice gave it away as soon as that voice came over.
Horror royalty.
Yeah. You can't expect to throw that voice at me and not have me not know who that is.
Right.
Anyway,
there's not many scenes in this movie that genuinely like make me laugh, but there was a couple that had me cracking the fuck up. Like they're like sitting on the couch making out or whatever, and the stoner walks past and he's got a husband bulge. That shit has me fucking dying every time, dude. Holy fuck. Oh man, or like dude dying to the mermaid. It's always great.
Oh my god, I love it. And the blood spurts out his
blowhole of blood. It's fucking great.
He's like slowly flopping.
Come on.
Look who's talking, Aquaman.
Well, I like that he's seen so many murders that he's so desensitized to it. He wants to see a merman murder just to shake things up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Got it,
I just think it would have been cooler with a mermaid.
Get the cock to his lips.
And he gets what he wants in the end. There's a lesson there.
All right, let's keep it moving.
Yeah, sorry about that. Overall, I definitely really like this movie a lot. I'm really glad that we touched on this because it's like horror / comedy / like a touch on the genre itself, which I really like a lot. Once again, especially as a more horror movie fan, but definitely a good rec overall. I guess I could pass the ball to Nick.
Okay. Yeah. Initially, I really enjoyed this movie. I can't say whether for sure I even started it at one point, but I mean, it's with an intro like that, with the title card drop for me right at the beginning of the movie, just lets me know that I'm gonna kind of lets me know I have to give this film a chance. But no, I love that. I love that intro scene. He's fucking just trying to be buddy with Sitterson or fucking getting his name wrong. Yeah,
you got
Sitterson. Are you even listening to me? And a title drops, bellowing scream like. Fucking, it's a great intro. It's a fantastic intro. I'll just fucking just scan through here. I think my favorite scene and one of the funniest moments is fucking Mordecai being he's just getting into his whole speech. Fucking cleanse the world of their ignorance and sin, bathe them in the crimson of. Am I on speakerphone? I think that's.
Oh no! I don't know.
One of my favorite best scenes. Oh, it's fucking great. You know, when I see, I know it was probably just a nod or something, but seeing horror characters that are not Michael Myers doing a head tilt has to be done right, and this movie didn't do that right.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say that. Like
some of the spin-off were
it's a tough thing to swipe.
Yeah, it's got to be pulled off right, regardless of the horror, I guess. Excuse me, deadling. One hole I noticed was how would Kurt know that Marty had been got when they were all separated? Like they're about to go towards the cave, and I think Dana asked like, "Where's Marty?" and Kurt's just like, "Oh, he's gone, he's done." But how would he have known that when they were all separated and Marty was locked into that room?
Maybe
There's no way he could have known that.
He's just kind of assuming that. I don't know, because he didn't make it out of the cabin with them.
I suppose the other thing is that they've all been like, all of them have been influenced. Like he was dosed with that fucking gas just a little bit earlier, I guess, and he's probably just
an insanely
rewired his brain to fucking just go along with the ride. Yeah. Most of those nightmare creatures were actually kind of frightening. The bat, like that fucking being chased by that fucking bat like that, I would just give up.
Right.
A lot of those creatures were really fucking well done.
Yo, that girl with the lamprey face definitely had me fucked up.
I'm on the other end. She was kind of the least impressive to me for some reason.
Something about that many teeth in a hole just makes me uncomfortable.
The fucking homicidal unicorn. Just seeing this unicorn just like randomly stabbing somebody. It's like this is how you show a chaotic scene with just everything letting loose. It didn't.
I like that they had one. I like that they had one fun one just to mix it up.
Yeah. On that note, I'm looking at the wiki here, and under the production section, it says that, it sounds like they took a solid 4 months to film all that extra creature stuff.
Oh,
the creatures that don't even have names, because they're essentially making little mini horror movies, 100 of them.
Right.
And just all these gory scenes and all this special effects and stuff that is going to be in 10 minutes of the movie in the end. And it's gold. It's great. Yeah. I love it.
Just the ding of the elevators before they just come running out and just blood spraying everywhere. It's so good.
I love that. I have to give extra credit for the end credit scene is the song "Last" from Nine Inch Nails, one of the most under-listened to fucking Nine Inch Nails songs that
and it's such
it hits perfectly with
it's such a great needle drop at the end too.
Yeah, absolutely, fucking killer. Yeah, just like the setups, the payoffs, fucking this movie was just all around fun and funny and fucking stands apart from even the horror comedies that are lined up with it, whether it's Hostel and fucking
Tuckerdale.
Like there you go. Yeah. So Joe.
Yeah, I thought this was fun. It was interesting. I was highly entertained by it. It's obviously there's nothing production wise to criticize. It's Joss Whedon. He knows how to make movies. He's been in the entertainment industry since Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Does know how to do.
He does a lot of things. Makes a lot of geeky movies. Yeah, he's got his geek cred. It was really interesting to see a slasher movie that attempts to deconstruct the genre. I mean, people say this movie is self-referential, self-reflexive, postmodern, meta. I feel like 2011 was when the word meta was coined. It might have had something to do with this movie.
Maybe.
It's the 2010s.
Meta, but where's it?
I mean, I had heard it in gaming terms long before that, but yeah.
It's meta, but it wears it on its sleeve. You look at a movie like Scream, which you could argue does the same thing, but Scream is a tiny bit more subtle with it, whereas this movie's no, you're gonna watch these guys who are watching the kids getting killed and setting it up. You know what I mean? So it's it's much more blatant about it, and I think that's why it hits a little bit better.
Well, it fits better for a comedy.
Yeah.
Scream never tried to be a comedy.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Scream versus this movie. I haven't actually seen Scream, but
wow,
this movie, it's not really worth finding all the plot holes in it because you have to just accept the movie on face value and just enjoy the ride.
Like most slasher movies, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if I could poke one hole, the pheromones just seems like lazy writing, and the marijuana blocks pheromones. I mean, how does that work?
I was fine with them until they started getting real specific. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A
pheromone
until they
that makes
push
you
a
say,
button and he
split up.
completely changes his mind about splitting up. Yeah, that's a little over the top.
But the idea of them just getting drugged and being hazy like that, I don't hate that. It's just He gets sprayed in the face and immediately was like, just let's split up, gang. It's like, whoa.
We'll cover more ground.
You're a fucking lightweight, buddy.
Yeah.
I wish that two-way mirror, that was such a good scene when they established there was a two-way mirror, and it never really got used. It got smashed, but I just would have loved to see that get used in some way.
You like set up and no payoff.
Yeah. And what, I guess, do we want to talk about favorite scenes and favorite quotes and stuff like later?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
We can do that later. That's all I got. Like I thought it was just a good solid slasher flick. Like I appreciate this more than like if I sat down and watched some of the old slasher movies, unless they're extremely cheesy and campy, I'm not going to enjoy them that much. But with this one, I did appreciate it attempts to have something to say about the genre.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about like what it is saying about the genre, because I've always thought that like the ancient gods are toxic fandom, and they're horror fans who just want a formula, you know?
Yeah.
And Americans want this formula, and the Japanese want this formula, and the people in this culture want that formula, da 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 da. And like the formula in America is this. Like the whore dies first, and then you have the jock and the scholar and the fool and the virgin. Death is optional as long as she suffers, you know.
Yeah. My main criticism about what this movie has to say is that it shows you these monsters, the redneck zombies, and they're not the real monsters. You find out they were made in a lab, but then at the end, the monsters are just bigger monsters. Like if this movie had been like, there's a rich asshole who just wants to watch real life horror and he loves all the tropes behind it all, then that could be like a critique of the audience who gets a thrill out of seeing people tortured in a way. But I do like your theory that the monsters have preferences, like the virgin dies last, and I don't know, in Japan, the school children get terrorized.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a subtle lash out at toxic fandom. That's how I've always seen this movie.
I love the reading that Japan never fails. As someone who likes Japanese horror, I kind of agree.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's not many Japanese horror movies I watch that I don't like, so I kind of agree with that whole sentiment. I would have liked to have seen more of the other nations, but that's just the nerd me wanting to see other shit.
Yeah, same. I wanna see what Stockholm did to fuck things up.
Yeah, like trolls or some shit.
Yeah.
Krampus.
Let's see what else you got.
Well, you wanted to ask us something about like one of the characters.
Oh right, yeah,
I think
trivia.
I'm guessing the girl.
Well, you should let Molander like frame it. Like, what is the question
right.
here?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So one of the actors in this, at least one that I know of, because it's on Wikipedia, was a Power Ranger at one point.
I'm guessing it's Richard Jenkins, the guy with the short sleeves and the skinny black tie.
I'm guessing it's that security guard that's like on his first day.
Oh my!
You sounded like you knew it, Nakula.
I was convinced. Yeah, until Jeff.
My guess was a joke. I don't think it's Richard Jenkins.
Right. Yeah,
he's a little too old.
Yeah.
No, until Jeff mentioned the fucking security guard.
Well, I do want to point. I like Richard Jenkins. He was in The Shape of Water.
He's also in.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
Yeah,
he's in Step Brothers. Dad.
That's right. Yep.
He was
the
on
other guy.
6 Feet Under. What'd you say, Jeff?
The other guy I've seen in a bunch of shit too. He's actually in The West Wing that I'm watching right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's in West Wing.
Bradley Whitford.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. He's charismatic as shit. He had me cracking up.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
he's
Was
good.
was it Thor? Was it Chris Hemsworth? No.
Nope. It was Anna Hutchinson, the blonde girl, the whore.
Oh, yeah,
She
okay.
was in
Yeah.
Power Rangers Jungle Fury.
There it is.
I even went to
There it is.
YouTube and like watched a scene or two. I'm like, yep,
Holy shit.
she belongs here. Just some
Let's see.
fun trip.
Yeah.
What do you got for thoughts, Molander?
Yeah, I mean, I love this movie. Obviously, I mean, this is so great. I love just the pacing of it. I love the way that you kind of get subtle reveals throughout the first act and into the second act a bit, and then you kind of learn as you go what's actually going on in this, and then you almost have to watch it the second time right away, just because now you know things. I really love the Harbinger, the guy at the beginning, the Mordecai, because I'm always a big fan of the Harbinger. I really love Ralph in the old Friday the 13th 1 and 2. I love that role. You know,
That
I
gas
love
station clerk from Texas Chainsaw and shit.
right, yeah. There's just this old dude who like knows what goes on in the area and like half tries to warn people, but also just allows people to go to their death. Like,
Yeah.
and it's just I like that trope. I think it's a fun trope. So I'm glad it was included here. And yeah, I love having Sigourney Weaver come in as the director. She's just this like horror royalty, so she just fits right into that role. I love it. All the college kids are great. I mean, you get these interesting dynamics between them, and you get to kind of see a little of them before they get to the cabin and start getting influenced a lot by the chemicals and stuff. And I like that you get all that. You get a lot more introduction to these characters than you usually do in a slasher movie, in a Friday the 13th or something like that. And I like that. And I think that's really where Whedon shines, is he really shines in giving you group dynamics on screen. I mean, that's really what pulls Buffy and Angel and Firefly together, and even the Avengers, is that there's always these very different people that are coming together, and he's writing interesting interactions between these characters. And I think that's really where Whedon shines in general with his talents. But yeah, I just love this movie. I think it's great.
Yeah, excellent choice.
So what? Let's talk about favorite scenes, favorite quotes.
I got a favorite scene when they're all in the basement for the first time.
Sure.
And one guy, Thor, Chris Hemsworth, he's looking at the conch. Someone else has the puzzle box. Someone's got the Latin book, I think, at that point. Well, four of them have their own
Right.
totem that's going to, enact a ritual. And then, it's all building up this suspense, and then someone else does a thing, and that was the one that activated their deaths.
Right. And I love that she starts reading the book and whatever, and then she finds the Latin, and dude's like, "Don't read the Latin." You hear this voice whisper, "Read the Latin. Read it out loud."
Yeah.
It's great.
His character was so good, man.
Yeah, he was so perfect. That dude, I really like Fran Kranz a lot. He's gold. I want to see him in more things. He was really good in one of Whedon's other works, The Dollhouse. And yeah, I love that guy. Great.
Yeah, it's easier for me to pick a favorite character because I love Marty than it is for me to find a favorite scene. Fucking, he was funny all around.
I want that retractable bong he's got.
Right? I'm sure several people tried to build those, and maybe a few succeeded.
I don't think so. It says on IMDb and Wikipedia that it cost like $5.
Cost $5 what?
Whoa, you fell off there.
$5,000.
It costs $5 to make.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, I'm paying that amount.
That's a higher number than I would have guessed.
Listen, if you're going to put your money somewhere, you should put it in a retractable bong. Attach the wall. Oh shit! I think for me, my favorite scene. I mean, my gut instinct is to say it's the scene where all the monsters come out, but that's just the horror nerd in me. I think it's probably. I think it's probably the betting scene. I don't know why, but
yeah.
I just love the betting scene a lot. It's like, it's funny, but like, also it's one of the only scenes that makes me feel a little gross when it shows the people down, like underground. You know what I mean? Like, not a lot of scenes with them make me feel weird, but that one kind of makes me feel weird. All them taking the bets and shit. It's also like, I don't know, that accountant winning, splitting it with Greg the accountant. Oh shit. Also him breaking down it's not zombies, it's redneck zombie pain torture.
Right, they're totally different categories.
Maybe next year.
Favorite line is definitely that fucking, hold on, let me find it, make sure I get it right. That fucking, he's got a husband bulge. I was like audibly laughing over that shit.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that betting scene is really interesting because it really shows us, like, okay, these people, I mean, they work probably year round on all this stuff, and there's this one night that really culminates, and they finally get to have fun, you know, and like, yeah, it's dark as shit, but they think they're saving the world. You know what I mean? And they think, well, you know, fuck these kids. We're saving the world. And
well, that's one of the clever things about the movie. You're not really sure who to root for, because you want to root for the kids because they're just lambs to the slaughter. But at the same time, you know that if they're not killed, the world ends. Right. You know what I mean? So you're also kind of rooting for the guys downstairs too.
Yeah.
And it adds how determined they are when Sitterson is downstairs and seeing Japan win, when they just like, Kiko's spirit will be kept in the frog and happy for life. And he's like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. It's like, it's driving it home. You don't know what you're doing, kids. You really don't.
He's like cheering for a bunch of small children to be murdered. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. It's just so divisive.
Yeah. And I think to do that job, you really have to be emotionally detached from the rest of the human race.
Yeah, a special kind of person for sure.
Yeah. I don't know how someone gets recruited into that job. Because, I mean, it's got to be taking people from all walks of life. Every kind of person is going to be needed in that facility, right? So, no. I think it'd be interesting. I think it'd be really cool to see like prequels, right? Where like he talks about like, oh, the only other time we fucked up was in '98, and it was the chem department's fault. Like, I want to see that movie. Like, show me that.
I really liked seeing them descend downstairs, like seeing Marty like find the panel and find the elevator and shit, and they're just like, yo, fuck everything, let's go.
Yeah.
Like they just give up, and I really like that about it.
Yeah. And I think too, that kind of feeds into, I think my favorite scene is I mean, it's not a big flashy one, but when they first get in the camper and they're like driving up, they haven't even gotten to the Harbinger yet, but Marty's talking about how society is binding, and we're too chicken shit to let it crumble and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that really foreshadows what decision he and the other girl are gonna make, Jules. And if you think back to that, it's less surprising at the end that they're just like, yeah, just light up a joint and see what happens. You know?
Yeah, he just has a clean fucking joint in his pocket.
Right? That's the biggest plot hole in this movie. That he has a clean joint.
Yo, he rolls like
and a
35
working lighter.
He rolls like 35 joints in that fucking camper and smokes one of them through the entire movie. That's right. So what'd you roll all those joints for?
Well, he thought he was going to be gone for a whole weekend.
True.
I think I've got to say, I think my favorite scene is, I think I'm gonna go for a walk.
You can't tell me what to do.
Do a little puppet dance. Make my own decisions. I think I'm gonna go for a walk.
Yo, they didn't even hide that camera really well. All he did was break up light.
Right.
Like,
he just accidentally found this camera wire.
Oh man.
Well, it makes sense because he's like the stoner trope, right? So like, of course he's like the most paranoid and like thinking everything is like some conspiracy and shit. You know what I'm saying? So like, of course he's the one that they've got to shut down because fucking
his look of surprise as he's looking right in the lens. Just
I'm on a reality TV show.
All right, sorry.
You're good. Yeah, is that everybody?
Any final thoughts?
Anyone have favorite quotes from this movie?
My favorite quote is, "Am I on speakerphone?"
I like when Sigourney Weaver. Oh yeah, you did mention that before. Yeah, I mean it's been brought up before, but I like when Sigourney Weaver says, "We work with what we got." For virgins.
Nice. Yeah, very nice.
It's almost a comment on society. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. Get by with what we have. Yeah. So.
Yeah, for me, favorite quote is still that society's binding. We're too chicken shit to let it come. I don't have it in front of me, but
sure.
Yeah.
It definitely sits at the end of the movie. Really, there's got a lot of good setup and payoff in this movie.
Yeah, for sure. I do wonder why there wasn't just a force field in the tunnel.
Yeah,
but whatever, it's fine.
Wow, I didn't even think of that. Wow.
Huh. Like maybe it needs a wide area for science reasons. I don't know.
Because they're trying to punch it up, right? Because they don't want, because they can't just kill them. They have to like have them die under horror movie circumstances, so they have to have the tunnel collapse instead of just throwing up a force field. But that also raises the question of how it's acceptable for dude to drive his bike into the force field and have that still count. You know what I mean?
I think just because it's funny, you know.
Yeah.
At least funnier than like driving the van into the force field.
True.
Know,
and as far as we know, that tunnel's the only way in and out of the area. So that's why the barriers in the ravine.
Right. Okay, well let's go ahead to ratings then. Knack, where you at?
Shit. I'm trying to think of any, deductions other than what I had for, Kurt's brain just kind of defaulting to Marty's dead, but shit, I'm rounding it out to just 9 out of 10. Yeah, loved it.
Sure,
9 out of 10.
Okay, Jeff, where you at?
About an 8. I don't think it's perfect, but goddamn, do I love it. It's a fun movie to watch, man. If I was chilling with somebody and they're like, "Yo, you want to watch Cabin in the Woods?" I'd be like, "Yeah, let's watch Cabin in the Woods." You know what I mean? Like, it's just a good time. And as a as I'm sure you know, as a horror buff, like just watching it feels like it's made for me, you know?
Right. Same. Joe,
So, yeah,
how about you?
I'd give it a solid 5 out of 10. Like, it's super fun. I enjoy it. But I don't think it's as smart as people think it is. Like, it doesn't... Because slash movies aren't as smart as people think they are. Like, it acknowledges some tropes, like don't split up and the virgins never die. But, and you mentioned The Harbinger, too. And that's a good point. But I don't know. It's just not for me. I feel like the 2000 era humor doesn't land for me as well. So, but it was a solid romp. It was a good time.
Cool. There's a part of my heart that wants to give this one a 10, but I can't get better movies out of my head, so I can't. You know? So I give this one a 9 out of 10. Love this movie a lot, but that it does have its problem.
There's more than a few movies that try to deconstruct the horror genre and just genre films in general, and I think this one takes that like really fun approach, whereas like Scream or Wes Craven's New Nightmare try to lean more into like the horror aspect of it, and I think that makes it a funner watch, but I think it makes it less. I'm trying to think of the right way to put this. I think it makes the impact of what it's trying to say less than. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
less impactful.
And I do think that Scream is a better movie. Scream's a 10.
Yeah, I meant to ask you how does this compare to Scream?
I think like Jeff said, Scream is more of a straight horror, you know, and now it's a whole franchise that time after time has deconstructed various parts of the horror genre, and it's been a great ride that whole time. I'm very excited for step 6 of that ride coming out pretty soon here. But yeah, I think Scream sort of earns its acclaim a little more than this movie does. And this movie has, I think, more holes in it, probably because it's also a comedy. And that's more forgiven in comedy, you know, in comedy writing.
This is made by a comedic writer and a comedic director versus like Scream is Wes Craven, right? Like that's Wes Craven. So it's like a man who's like powerhouse in the horror genre.
Yeah. And you could almost call Whedon and Goddard horror writers for Buffy and Angel, but that's not really horror. It's more comedy action type stuff, you know.
It's like it's geek stuff.
Yeah, nerd shit. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I'd put this a little bit below Scream, but it's still it's a lot of fun, and I do. Yeah. So that's where we're at. That's our episode. Should we end off on the rec for the next?
We always do.
Yeah, let's
of course,
do it.
We always do.
So I'm kind of torn on this one. I want to recommend Sallow or 180 Days of Sodom is the movie that I want to recommend.
No. Don't do that.
Oh,
but the thing,
I have not heard of either of these.
It's one movie, but don't.
It's one movie.
Jeff, come on. We're your friends.
And this is why I'm.
And
like,
as friends, we should be understanding.
Oh God, no.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to recommend The Lighthouse. Because I told myself that if I couldn't land on anything before I had to wreck, that's the movie I would wreck. But I intend to watch Sallow. I'm going to watch both, obviously, and be ready to talk about The Lighthouse.
You haven't seen Sallow?
No.
I'm super glad you picked The Lighthouse. You've brought it up like 11 times, and
you have brought it up like this whole time.
And it's so good, dude. It's like top 3 movies of all time for me. It's so good.
Is it horror? I never even got I haven't seen it. I've only seen like a trailer a couple times.
It's horror, but it's like I don't know. Yeah. I would describe it more as like a buddy cop movie. That's a joke. Yeah, it's horror. It's like psychological horror, I guess.
Okay.
It's Turner and Hooch in the Lovecraft universe, yeah.
Kinda. The reason I'm recommending it is specifically because I wanted to recommend something from like this new wave of like A24 horror we've been seeing.
Elevated.
Yeah.
Yep. So I wanted to make sure that because we haven't touched on any of those yet. So I was like, I want to make sure we thunk one of those in.
Good call.
And as soon as we get
I
this
haven't
movie out
seen
of
The
the way,
Lighthouse. I have seen The Northman though, and I loved it. So excited.
When you've seen The Witch too, which I know you were.
Yes,
not the
and
biggest fan
I
of.
was not a big fan of that one.
Mm. We'll touch on that. I'm very curious as to your thoughts on The Witch, but we'll wait until we do the episode for it because I really want to know what your thoughts are on that.
Is that directed by? That's not directed by the same.
Yeah, all three of those are the same.
The Witch, The Lighthouse, and what?
Northman.
Oh,
Robert
they
Eggers.
are. Okay, gotcha.
Robert Eggers.
Yeah, they're all Robert Eggers.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I'm excited to get this movie out of the way so I can shut the fuck up about it.